you know what? Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? This is Cam. This is Blerdline News. With me, as always, is
Chief Kamehameha, the last action Negro,
as well as
the Professor D, here to talk shop with my homies here.
And so, like we always do for Blerdline News, it's going to be a quick 30 minutes. I'm keeping time, but we wanted to talk about the biggest news that happened these days. Two big things on the agenda: Deadpool versus Deadpool and Wolverine, as well as the latest San Diego Comic-Con announcements. Quickly, I and Cam watched Deadpool and Wolverine. And it was fun. It was one of those things that we kind of, we'll probably go a deeper dive later, especially when Josh comes back, because I know he's going to have a lot to say about it. But initial reactions was it was actually really fun. I really enjoyed it. It was, as action. It was comedy. It was light, fluffy, easy breezy, cool. That's all it really needs to be.
Yeah, Deadpool is one of those perfect marriages where the actor actually feels like he should be playing Deadpool and breaking the fourth wall. You know what you're getting yourself into when you watch a Deadpool movie. So not to say my expectations were low, but my expectations were met because I knew what to expect from watching. I haven't even watched the second Deadpool, and good enough, I need to watch the second one to enjoy the third one. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, totally. But we'll get into a deeper dive with that when everybody watched it. We can go nerd out. But the big story this weekend for San Diego Comic-Con. First of all, San Diego Comic-Con is interesting because it used to be, to me, one of the best cons in the nation. And the reason why was because it did a perfect marriage of entertainment and comics. And then about 10 years ago, maybe even longer, I would say, they've kind of shifted to almost 90% entertainment, 10% comics. And I think New York Comic-Con is a lot better, purely because New York Comic-Con has a good balance of the people. So you have a lot of cosplaying, stuff like that. You have a good smattering of vendors that are local and comic book artists and comic book artists. Artist Alley is amazing at New York Comic-Con. And then you also have the comics that are still represented. And then you have entertainment, where San Diego legit is all entertainment. So we got the Section 31 trailer dropped from Paramount, and Marvel did their big reveal of who was going to be Doctor Doom. Some said Jared Leto, some said Giancarlo, but it was RDJ coming back. And this was interesting to see because I was curious what route they would go with this, but they have a couple of different things. But initially I was kind of like, oh, all right, that makes sense. RDJ's probably got another big bag and a little bored. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the announcement, with just kind of whatever. I think they were trying to make it clear that he's only back for those two Avenger films, which means that they've already sort of established the fact that, there's the multiverse, and that with the exception of Strange and I guess Wanda, several of the others have different, the characters have different, appear differently, obviously played by different actors. So I'm guessing that even though he's playing Doom for these films, that it's some kind of special variant of Doom, and that the MCU proper Doom will be a different actor. But you obviously have to make the big ordeal because of who this actor is, and obviously he's recognizable because it's Robert Downey Jr. So with this coming on the heels of the announcement that the Russo brothers would be returning to direct, and I'm assuming also there was change in the writers as well. But this announcement feels like, honestly, the MCU's desperate attempt to change the narrative about their recent woes. So you introduced three key players who were part of the most successful runs of the MCU in both the directing and the casting, to say almost like a a statement of, hey guys, we hear you. We know things haven't been great. We're going to bring back these known quantities to soothe over some of the recent mistakes that we admittedly have made. Yeah, that's not a bad thing because, again, the Russo brothers have proven that they at least can handle the scaling of an Avengers narrative. And we know that Robert Downey Jr. probably won't disappoint in his performance as, I don't know, it didn't say if he's going to be Victor Von Doom, it just says that he's going to be Dr. Doom. So, or I don't know, maybe it did announce that he's going to be Victor Von Doom, but I assume it's a variant and not like.
Yeah, I think they just said Doom just in general, so they didn't really specify. Like, if they go so Infamous Doom was Infamous Iron Man was a storyline that Bendis did, and basically Tony Stark dies, Doctor Doom takes up the mantle of Iron Man, and he basically it's like a 12-issue run of basically Doctor Doom as Iron Man, and it was actually solid. It was solid, had some interesting stuff, good little plays with it, Doom is that anti-hero, more anti-hero villain type of character anyways. So if they play on that, that could be interesting. But if they go kind of more the what if, hey, surprise, Tony Stark is now Doom because of whatever situation, that could be interesting too. So they have a couple routes that they could go that would make sense, that would be entertaining. Tony Stark as a bad guy would really be fun if he hams it up and just really like revels into being the villain. Because, when has Robert Downey Jr. played an actual villain? Probably been a while.
Well, he was the main antagonist in Oppenheimer.
There you go. Yeah.
But that's a different type of story in which we're talking about a character who's doubly an antagonist in the proper sense of the word, but also a main villain with pertaining to the superhero genre. They're almost the same. They are the same. They both create obstacles, but here in this case, we're talking about a flat out villain of the dastardly evil variety. There's obviously all of the parallels between the two characters as well. Iron Man and Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom, both coming from wealth, both having access to vast resources that have nothing to do with physical power. Both are considered the most intelligent characters in the Marvel universe, two of the most intelligent characters, and Doom is probably one of the most cunning of all the supervillains in Marvel in terms of how he's challenged not just the Fantastic Four, but all the other Marvel superheroes as well. There's a lot of things that you can look at this and say there's a lot of potential here to do something cool. Is it going to be a John Krasinski type of thing with Reed Richards? And then later again, we know that the Reed Richards of the MCU is Pedro Pascal. So it's interesting. Like I said, it changes the conversation. It takes away some of the momentum that DC has been getting in terms of the anticipation for the next era of their movies. But I see this in a couple different ways, but the biggest thing is just Marvel trying to ease over their more recent missteps and criticism by introducing or reintroducing individuals who had previously been done with the MCU, like recently done with the MCU. So,
can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good.
I was going to say, if we're really looking at how we can look at Robert Downey Jr. as a villain within the Marvel Universe, you could argue during Civil War, he was the villain.
True.
Basically on the wrong side of, what do you want to say, superhero history with the whole Registration Act and how his thoughts and viewpoints based on the comic and how the movie was, the direction of the movie was going. I'm not mad at it. This does pull from the comics. There is a variant of Dr. Doom being played by Tony Starks. But I also question, like, why not just give us a proper Doom?
Yeah.
Why choose this narrative to bring?
It's a curious route, all things considered, and where they are now. And in addition to the criticism that they've gotten, it's bold in that reason, that it's kind of like you're doubling down on what you've been doing, which is giving all of these variations versus what fans kind of want, which is we want to see a proper Victor Von Doom introduced into the MCU. We want to see a proper X-Men team introduced into the narrative. Not, maybe later or, in the what ifs, if we get a variant, that's cool. But, I don't know if introducing the variant is the best route, especially with that level, with that name. I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree.
This would be an expensive troll, quote unquote, to like throw us off, because Robert Downey Jr. ain't cheap. Obviously, Disney's pockets are fat, and they know what attaching the name Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark's Iron Man to this new role will get fans talking like we're talking now to come to the theaters and see how they're going to implement this story. Now, again, that's all and fine, but I was just curious, like, why they just didn't start a fresh slate. Now, I'm assuming because we've seen them do this again. You brought out Reed Richards' cameo, and we were like, oh, there's Reed Richards, and it's not really him. He's going to be played by Pedro Pascal, I think that's his name. And that's cool, And again, when I can go back to my own thoughts and say, when I first heard Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, I was like, this is a terrible hire, and it worked. So, I'm going to just leave it up into their hands and see how it plays out and leave my criticism for after. But it did ponder. I was like, yo, we have a fresh opportunity, get a fresh new face or familiar face to play Dr. Doom, which we've been clamoring for ages. And I kind of feel like they took the safe route, but maybe that's just maybe to lure us in and then give us the okie doke. That's my feeling. We'll see how it plays out. But yeah, that's the buzz. Welcome back, Robert Downey Jr. And I'm curious to see how they're gonna let this play out.
Yeah, I would say from a marketing standpoint, it's super smart because now you have these questions. What's happening right now is exactly what they wanted. They wanted people talking, they wanted interest, and they wanted a And then you have the normies that are just like, oh, snaps, RDJ's back. The comic people, wait, you're bringing this fool back for this? Oh, man, that means he's a variant. So they have all the things that they wanted because they lost it, right? They had a good, and by doing it San Diego Con weekend, great, because they haven't done anything big like that in a while, like probably since Infinity War is probably their big like San Diego Comic-Con reveal. It's been like ages since anyone cared about anything Marvel at San Diego Comic-Con, besides the movie that's coming out, but nothing with like this much of hype. And then you have then couple that with Deadpool and Wolverine, boom, 1-2 punch. So yeah, a good blockbuster movie in the theaters. You have a good announcement at the con, and now buzz for Marvel on the cinematic front is now back. Where before we were talking a lot about Gunn, talking a lot about Superman. They didn't do any big reveal or anything like that. No trailer, nothing like that during San Diego. So doesn't mean that the hype has died down. But Marvel definitely tried to take a big swing to get the hype back.
I will say, and this goes back, a little spoiler alert for Wolverine Deadpool. We got a little Henry Cavill retribution in that movie, which I thought was pretty funny when you mentioned DC. D, when you watch it, eventually you'll see it. You're like, oh, okay. And there's a little sly remark. The whole movie is about giving proper closure.
Oh, I know about the Cavill.
Okay,
so you don't have to dance around it.
Okay.
Maybe for the listeners who haven't seen.
Yeah, whatever.
I know for sure what you're talking about and what you're referring to. It sounds, again, it's a pop culture thing. If you know, you know. So it's just I will give Marvel this. If they cannot keep the story together and the continuity together, they at least find ways to have fun like this. And knowing they have all these characters and all of these different legacies that have been brewing and danced around for all these years. DC did it. with their Crisis TV show, where they basically showed, oh, everybody is a part of this thing. It isn't just the only the only universe they didn't show was Nolan's, and I think that's because he made it clear that his is like is not a part of that at all.
Stay on your side. Stay on your side.
So, but also they didn't really touch. I don't think the Matt Reeves Batman existed yet. But my point is because they now have consumed 20th Century Fox and all of that library, and they have basically all of their heavy hitters are now under one roof. They can have fun while they figure things out. And this is clearly, Deadpool Wolverine was clearly one of those things. And I think with that announcement of Robert Downey Jr. and Doom, additionally, the Fantastic Four footage, you now have Marvel kind of trying to pull itself out of the rut or the slump that it's been in for the last, I would say, 5-6 years.
Yep, 100%. And I think like it's actually kind of fun because like Deadpool and Wolverine is just fun, and it did give like some closure points. It brought in stuff like that. It they pulled in old X-Men villains and in there as well. You saw some Pyro, you saw some Toad, Juggernaut, Sabretooth, and it was fun because that's what they basically was like, all right, here's your playground. Here's all the people you can play with. What do you guys want to do with it? And that's pretty much with Deadpool.
And with the original actors for the most part.
Yeah, which was cool.
We had the original Sabretooth from X-Men 1. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Exactly.
The original, what's the guy? Maul? What's the guy that plays Maul?
Ray, I was supposed to say Ray Fish. What's Ray Parks? Ray Park
reprised his role. I thought it was, I thought, again, it's a Marvel movie. I've been burnt. So again, my expectations are minimal, but knowing what Deadpool is, I was okay with it. I was like, this is cool. This is fun. It appealed to my once huge fandom of Marvel, but I was like, yeah, this is a cool movie. A little retribution in certain areas. Give you some of these characters that had bad movies on Fox some type of closure, whether you like it or not. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. So
yeah, same. And I think there's a good montage of a bunch of different Wolverines, which was awesome to see on screen. And another thing too is like you could tell that the cast that was in it, they generally enjoyed doing it. Like everyone had a little wink and a smile and a smirk the whole time. They had great jokes. And they had the breaking of the fourth wall. It wasn't as much, but it was, in fun parts and fun places. So I thought they did a really good job of just like, yo, we have this old sandbox that we're not going to be playing around with anymore. What do you want to do with it? And they definitely use it. And shout out to the actress that played Cassandra Nova. She did a great job. She was a proper fun villain.
It sounds like it did everything that if you had expectations, they were met.
Yep.
If you didn't, then you were pleasantly surprised. And I think that's something that we haven't been able to say about a Marvel film, probably with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah, easily. This is easily, 100%. It just, like I said, it met the expectations. The crowd was laughing. They really earned their R rating too. They made sure 100% out the gate, let's just get this R out the way. To the point of like kind of ridiculousness, but I actually appreciated it. I was like, okay, good stuff. And that was
it seemed like they're pretty much let me ask this. Is there any point where Wolverine is in full tilt costume, like the mask and all? Okay.
Yep.
That's good. Because I was thinking to myself, they most likely did have him in the mask, but it's Hugh Jackman, so of course he's not gonna have it on for most of the film.
Yeah, but when it comes on, it's pretty good. And again, it's like Ryan Reynolds was having the fucking time of his life. That's one. And it comes across in every scene. Hugh Jackman, like at first you're like he almost seems like he's a little tired, and then there's a part where he hits a stride, and you could tell he's enjoying himself too. And like that's kind of the feel of the whole film. It's like everyone that's in it is having fun while they're doing it.
So I'll give you a little thing that I caught. there was two references to that hit close to home. That was like, I guess, for lack of a better term, double entendre meanings. There's a scene where Deadpool meets Elektra, played by Jennifer Garner, and her version of Daredevil died, which is Ben Affleck, and he died in the void. But he says, Deadpool says, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and she's like, "It's okay." But that's kind of referencing their marriage together. He did the same thing with Wolverine, who had played by Hugh Jackman, who got divorced, and he made some mention of separation. And they looked at each other, and it was like a tongue-in-cheek joke. So I kind of caught the little jabs Deadpool was throwing. They were okay with it. It was kind of like a celebrity roast of certain characters. Same with Blade, where he was like, "I didn't really like you." He was like, "Same here." It was like it was the rumor that they liked
because the two of them were in Blade Trinity. Yeah.
But the one cool moment though was when and I didn't realize this when he first found his Wolverine. And he opens his shirt, but we didn't see it. And he was like, "It took 20 damn years to freaking do this." And it was the suit, the yellow and blue suit. And they also showed the yellow and brown one, which actually looked really cool. I was like, "Oh,
yeah, I give them that too." Yeah, that they did a nice montage of like Wolverine in different eras of his Wolverine-ness, and they did a really good job of like when they come to the brown suit, half the crowd was like, "Oh shit." And it looked good. Like it looked like solid. So it's one of those things where like the fan service was heavy, but they did it in a good way. The plot and everything else, just enough from here to here to here. Let's get out. You know, we got under, I think it might be 2 hours, maybe it's a little bit under, something like that.
Yeah, it's a little over 2 hours.
Yeah, so you didn't feel like it dragged too much. And you know what? Shout out to the chick that played X-23, Laura, who's also in Acolyte. But
Daphne King.
She did a good job, and she did a great job to pop in. It got some good tender moments, good fighting moments, and like it was another one where you're like, "Yo, hat tip to you."
Yeah, well, she was, her Logan is probably up there in the top 5 of superhero films.
Totally,
and she was great in that, and even at that young age, next to a Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman. So, you already see her trajectory or, arriving to where it is now. And this is just like the beginning with Acolyte and, this brief return here, she's so young. So that's hopefully where, as they move forward, they'll consider a role for Daphne King in the more permanent sense, like having her as X-23.
I hope so.
Seriously, but
yeah, that would be dope. Honestly, she did a great job and brought like a nice little moment of heart to the film when she popped up, and it was kind of cool. The other last quasi spoiler is Channing Tatum as Gambit. Shit was fucking hilarious. That shit was super funny. He was doing the accent and everything, and they were roasting his accent the whole time as a meta thing. Like every time he started talking, like Ryan Reynolds, you'd be like, "What are you saying? Who is your dialect coach?"
Yeah, that's what's fun about it, right? It's that meta aspect of it when they get a chance to make fun of themselves and make fun of the storytelling and things like that. And even with all the different versions of the characters and, the whole thing, nobody really ever dies in Marvel anyway. And so that's also bringing it back to the whole Robert Downey Jr. conversation is that, that's kind of just in line with the aesthetic and the idiosyncratic way of Marvel, which is these characters often do pop up in various roles in different stories and iterations over the years they have. So, if they're going that route, we'll see how it shakes out. Or if they're trying something else and, we get a Ben Kingsley Mandarin moment, I guess we'll have to see.
Yo, G, you said no one really dies. Well, the exception is one, Uncle Ben. He's never come back.
Uncle Ben can't come back. He's the only one.
He might be the anchor of the sacred timeline. Who knows?
He might be. I mean, even when he comes back, you already know that, okay, he'll be dead soon. It's because, especially if Peter isn't Spider-Man, and most likely he's not if Uncle Ben is still alive. So Uncle Ben must die. That should be a side comic book for the Marvel Universe, like the whole Avengers storyline. Uncle Ben has to die in order for everything to work.
So you know what would be funny? If the variant of Uncle Ben was the box of rice. That would be great.
Oh my goodness. I think we would.
You know.
We would implode, yo. We would implode. But yeah, so we wanted to hop in and just give our quick thoughts about that. Again, go see Deadpool Wolverine. It's fun. The Doom and Tony Stark and the Doom and RDJ. You know what? It could work. It could not. But it got everybody talking. And that's probably the point in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it's something fresh. And again, like I said, it's all about execution. So if they are going into this phase where they're going to reuse actors in different capacities, that could be fun. It could be something that's different, and it hasn't been done before. So, we don't know what this means aside from what they told us, which is we know that Robert Downey Jr., who famously played Tony Stark in the MCU, will now be a version of Dr. Doom and presumably the main villain of the next two Avengers films.
Ooh, we'll see. But yeah, that's it for us. We'll talk to you guys soon. We'll have a proper Deadpool breakdown because we got to have Josh for that because there's too much fun stuff in there for Josh to miss. But,
you can't have a Wolverine conversation without Josh. It just cannot happen.
So it might come a little bit later. He's out doing some Olympic stuff. But yeah, don't worry. But other ways, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace.